Genesis 15, verse 1 reads, After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Fear not, Abram, I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward. God appears to Abram in a vision, but when he comes, his first words are, Fear not. This reveals what was going on in Abram's heart. He was having a sleepless night, and the trouble was that he was afraid. After these things, after what things? After his return from his battle with the four eastern kings and his encounter with the king of Sodom, we can see why he's so fearful. He was afraid of this man, Kedorlaomer, the great king whom he had conquered. Abraham had publicly humiliated him by overthrowing his vast army with a handful of men. Dictators do not take this kind of treatment lightly. We can easily understand the justified fear that Abraham felt as he faced the possibility of Kedorlaomer's return. No doubt he said to himself, What I have gotten myself into now. I'm almost sorry that I won this battle, for when he comes back, what am I going to do? I won't be able to catch him off guard another time. So fear fills his heart. Perhaps there was fear also because he had turned down the king of Sodom's offer of a fortune. He did it, of course, in the strength of the fellowship he had enjoyed with Melchizedek. With his heart aflame with the love and grace of God, Abraham had said to this king, I want nothing of all that you have. I don't want you saying that you have made Abraham rich. So the king went back to Sodom with all his riches, and now Abraham is back in his tent, experiencing a very human reaction. After viewing the wealth and luxury of Sodom, his tent now to him must have looked awfully shabby. The wind was howling around it, and the sand was sifting through its cracks. Doubts began to rise in his heart as to whether he did the right thing or not. And doubt is a form of fear. Still further, deep down in his heart was a lurking loneliness, a gawning fear that he had somehow misunderstood the promise of God. It was 10 years since God had said to him, Abraham, I'm going to give you a son. So Abraham was tossing on his bed at night in his tent, and there comes a sense of presence with him. In his heart, he hears that mysterious word of the Lord. Sometimes the Lord spoke audibly to these Old Testament men. Sometimes it was in the heart with a quiet, deep conviction that God spoke. We are not told how God spoke, but in the midst of his fear, doubt, and loneliness, there comes a sense of relief, and the word of the Lord says, Fear not, Abraham, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. I am sufficient answer to all your fears. God is our dearest treasure, the only genuinely satisfying joy. What was it that made his faith strong? The answer is that he did not look at the difficulty. His eye was not resting on the problems, but on the promiser. When he saw the greatness of God in the stars in the night sky, he must have said, It makes no difference of how I feel, nor what the difficulties are involved. The creator of the multitude of stars is quite capable of giving me an equal number of descendants. Today, when we cease from our works and rest in helpless dependence upon the living Son, that act of faith will introduce us to the power of God to work in our lives. Believe you're not at the end of the road, but at the beginning. Be blessed.